What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for Sports. So, I want to talk about one of my favorite players of all times, right? A guy who, from a historical standpoint, I think is the second greatest small forward ever. I mean, I got to put LeBron ahead of him, man, at this point, man. LeBron's longevity is just incredible. Now, peak for peak, I still think Larry Bird was better, but and I think Larry Bird was a better basketball player than LeBron James. LeBron obviously is much more athletic. I mean, it's no question about that. But I think that as a basketball player, I think Bird was better. Bird was a better rebounder. Bird was a better facilitator. Bird was a better natural passer. Like, as far as, yeah, LeBron might average more for his career, but Bird was a better actual passer if you watch him play. The passes that he was able to pull off, they weren't as fancy as Magic's, but they were crisp. They were accurate. Some of them were on the level of Magic and creativity and crowd-pleasing aesthetics. But he was a better shooter. And this is a guy that played in the 80s. And he was a far better jump shooter than LeBron, a better three-point shooter than LeBron. He'd be even better today. He's one of the great free throw shooters of all times. He was not a great one-on-one defender. But then again, LeBron doesn't play defense anymore. But he was a great help defender and a great leader and a great teammate. These are certain attributes that LeBron James lacked. And people talk about, Larry Bird had Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, and he played with these Hall of Famers, DJ, and, yeah, he did. But then again, LeBron's played with, 11, 12, 13 Hall of Famers, 15 All-Stars. So let's cut the bullshit on that too. But I want to focus on, to me, the 5 best years that Larry Bird had, from 1983 to 1988. Those were the best 5 years of Larry Bird's career. And I know a lot of people like to roll their eyes and think, oh boy, here we go, talking about this overrated white boy, right? But I really have to call out people for being hypocritical, because you say Larry Bird sucks, right? But yet Luka Doncic, who makes Larry Bird look like fucking goddamn Carl Lewis, is killing. And Luka is slow as fuck. And I'm glad Luka's in the league, because he proves my point about how I know Larry Bird would be the best player in the NBA right now if he was playing. I know for a fact, because Luka is doing what he's doing at 6'7", 225. You're telling me Bird at 6'10" and 230 is going to struggle in a shooting, passing league that does nothing but pick and rolls? He's going to struggle. I would have believed more that Bird would have had some trouble in the 2000s when it was more of an athletic league. Then I said, well, maybe Bird might struggle a little bit, but he would make adjustments. But in this league, and no fucking defense? Between 1983 and 1988, in the more competitive Eastern Conference compared to the Los Angeles Lakers, who played in the Western Conference, the Boston Celtics won, on average, about 62 games a year, right, during that time period. So on average, they went 62-20. Larry Bird, during that 5-year period, averaged 27.3 points, 9.8 rebounds, 6.8 assists, 1.8 steals, almost 1 block per contest. This is for a guy that supposedly is unathletic, but he averaged during that time period almost a block a game. He shot 51.2% from the floor, 40% from three-point range. 40%. Now, of course, he wasn't taking the amounts of threes that they take today, but still, for a guy in the mid-80s to shoot 40% from three-point range versus the league average, what was may have been like 26, 28%, that's phenomenal. That's like a guy today shooting like 55% from three or something over an extended. He would make. Can you imagine that? Could you imagine somebody doing what Steph Curry is doing, but shooting 55% from three instead of 45? Fucking incredible. And 90% from the foul line. In that 5-year period, he was the best shooter in the game, the best player in the game. His teams during that 5-year period, with the exception of 19, well, actually, let me think. Yeah, with the exception of 1988, excuse me. Went to the finals every year. They won 3 championships, 2 championships, excuse me, during that period of time, 84 and 86. They were in 4 finals, 84, 85, 86, and 87. And Bird won 3 consecutive league MVPs, 84, 85, and 86. It's possible, had Bernard King not got hurt in 85, that King might have won it. But still, Bird won it 3 years in a row. At that point in time, it looked like Bird was going to go down as the greater of the 2 players between Magic and himself. But injuries started taking a toll on Larry Bird after the 87-88 season, which statistically probably was his best year. That's the year that he averaged just a hair under 30 points a game, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. I think he shot 53% from the floor. I think it was 41% from 3 and about 90% from the line. So injuries robbed Larry Bird of being even greater. I think if he had played longer, had been healthier, if Len Bias hadn't died, which would have extended his career, I think Bird probably would have been the all-time leading scorer in Boston Celtics history, because championship is what drove him. I don't see Bird quitting if the back issue didn't get so bad and there was really no realistic shot at him winning titles. I see Bird playing into the mid-90s, and that could have been special. And I think he probably would have been in more, he would have a better case to be in the GOAT conversation. But be it as it may, he's still a top 10 all-time player. But yeah, that 5-year window, I think Bird was the best player in the NBA. And I think anybody that was watching basketball at that time, outside of Laker fans who were probably biased toward Magic, would agree with that. I think he was probably better than Magic during that time period. Now, from 87 onward, Magic was the best player. From 87 to 90, I think the consensus was Magic was the best player in the NBA, even with the Pistons winning back-to-back titles. Even with the Pistons winning back-to-back titles, most people still said that Magic was the best player in the league. And that makes sense because of the fact that he won the MVP in 87, 89, and 90. Isaiah Thomas has no MVPs. And like I said before in my other videos, a lot of the success that Isaiah Thomas had, starting in the late 80s, came from the fact that the Boston Celtics grew old, the Sixers grew old, and a lot of those guys retired or got traded away. And, you know, Isaiah got help with the drafting of Joe Dumars, a great two-way player, the drafting of Dennis Rodman, arguably the greatest rebounder of all time, the drafting of John Spider Sally, an underrated player and a great defender and a nuisance and a pest for the Detroit Pistons, and the acquisition of Adrian Dantley, perennial all-star of the Utah Jazz. Then later on, the acquisition via trade of Mark Aguirre. These are things that get forgotten. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.